Tonight, a new year and new energy prices. As costs go up, campaigners say major changes needed to ease the burden on bill payers. And it's not just energy bills hitting new heights, ferry fares are too. Price hikes by the Scottish Government are 5 times greater than what operators recommended. And an epic African adventure. The mum of 4 who overcame hippo-filled waters on her way down the Zambezi River. I'm Kellyanne Woodland. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. A new year is bringing in new energy prices. The cost of heating your homes and turning the lights on is expected to set bill payers back an average of £1,738. And experts say costs will surge again later this year when the price cap is predicted to rise. All this means campaigners are demanding radical reform to help ease the squeeze on household bills. Lewis Mickey reports.
Stuart and his partner are expecting a baby, but the couple moved in with family as their own flat was riddled with mould. And ever-increasing energy bills mean saving up for their own place has never been harder.
It wasn't maybe how we imagined starting a family, but just with thinking of past winters, the cold, mould, costs, conditions, it's not really a nice idea thinking of bringing a baby into that kind of situation. It's a small jump happening this time, but it's over the past 2 years, we're all consistently paying 1.5, 2 times more than we were.
The energy price cap applies to standard and default tariffs and has risen by 1.2%. That means the average British household will pay £21 more annually. That's not in isolation though, since the pandemic, bills for most have jumped by roughly 50%, and it could get worse. Analysts are predicting a rise by as much as 3% in April this year. Stuart works with Fuel Poverty Action. They say things have to change.
One of the most immediate things that the government and the energy regulator Ofgem could do would be getting rid of standing charges. I think that's cost of about £300 a year to households before your money buys any energy at all.
Campaigners say support is limited. Millions of pensioners were ruled ineligible for the winter fuel payments after changes in the budget. The Scottish Government is introducing a new benefit which will see pensioner households receive cash to help heat their homes, but that won't be ready until later in the year. Those of any age who are struggling are being urged to seek advice.
You may be entitled to money that you're not getting. So ask your housing officer, ask Citizens Advice for advice to get, particularly for winter, for pension credit. It's really important that people get the maximum amount of income that they're entitled to. And if you're struggling, speak to your energy company. Don't let problems mount up.
Regulator Ofgem is reviewing options on changes to standing charges. In the meantime, though, many will continue to feel the squeeze. Lewis Mickey, STV News.
Well, that rise in energy bills comes as temperatures drop across the country. The wintry conditions have caused disruption to road and rail travel in many parts of Scotland, with warnings of even colder weather to come. This is Ullapool today, a blanket of snow and ice. Other parts of the Highlands are also feeling the brunt of it. According to the Met Office, the UK is now heading outside of historical weather observations. What does that mean? Well, our reporter Laura Piper explains.
Every day for nearly 70 years, this weather station in Edinburgh's Botanical Gardens has been recording the elements. From rainfall and the temperature of the grass to wind speed and those rare sightings of sunshine. Today, its readings have plummeted to below freezing.
Well, the last few days has been very wet for one day, very windy for another day, and today we've got winter, frost. Yeah, I think we see it reflected in the plants. They do different things at different times of year to what they used to do. Some things now do really well that we never used to be able to grow due to the little bit of extra warming. And other plants actually are doing far worse because they really don't like the conditions that we have now.
What this team noticed in our plant life is echoed by data from the Met Office. Despite the chill across the country, today they announced that 2024 has provisionally been confirmed as the 4th warmest year on record for the UK. 8 of the last 12 months saw above average temperatures, including the warmest May on record. There were also a number of severe weather events. This year, the UK saw records broken in almost every season, with storms bringing wind speeds of up to 90 miles per hour and an abundance of weather warnings. The year began and ended with rare red weather warnings, severe flooding, landslides, and at one point 200,000 homes across the UK lost power. This year has also got off to a challenging start. Trains have been cancelled in the Highlands due to landslips and surging water. The Met Office say more evidence of our changing climate can be expected, with 2025 likely to be one of the 3 warmest years for global average temperature. For now, the weather remains unsettled, with freezing temperatures and snowy conditions, which some of us are making the most of.
What's this like?
Snowtastic! It feels like we're in the South Pole because there's like so much snow around.
We're just enjoying having a snow day. We love snow days.
I woke up this morning and I couldn't believe how wonderful and thick of snow we had. And I thought, wow. And it's even extra special because I've got the grandkids today.
While this wintry weather is to be welcomed by snow fans, today's warning from the Met Office remains a reminder. Rising temperatures mean a downward slope for our planet, with the likelihood of more frequent and severe weather events ahead. Laura Piper, STV News.
The increase in ferry fares decided by the Scottish Government was 5 times more than requested from ferry operators. Calmac and Northlink say they had wanted a 2% increase in fares, but the Scottish Government raised them by 10%. They said the difficult choice will recoup money used to freeze fares in previous years. Finlay Jack reports.
Another bitter blow in this never-ending ferry fiasco. An ageing fleet and unreliable services have hampered island communities for years. Now they're being asked to cough up more money for fares.
It's just unacceptable. And I would like to see the Minister tell us how she's come to this conclusion that the islands can cope with this huge rise in fares when the service that's been provided is so poor it's killing the islands economically.
The Scottish Government announced last year that fares would go up by 10%, but an FOI request from Labour revealed that operators Calmac and Northlink were only looking for an additional 2%.
The Scottish Government a few years ago brought forward an Islands Act that was to make sure that there was a level playing field for all islanders, that they were not to be disadvantaged, that policy was to be island-proofed. And then we see this happening, which flies in the face of that. So they say one thing, they're doing another, and that's really imposing a tax for their mismanagement on all islanders.
This is just the latest chapter in what islanders describe as an exhausting saga. 2 new ferries were ordered a decade ago and due to be delivered in 2018. The Glen Sannox is the first to be delivered but won't start timetabled sailings until later this month, 7 years after its due date. The cost of these vessels was expected to be a combined £97 million. The final bill is thought to be somewhere in the region of 4 times that. Islanders say all they want is a reliable and affordable service.
Well, I think we're just shocked that the Minister Fiona Hislop has agreed to this. I would like to know the reasons as to why they think that the island could sustain such a huge increase.
The government says it accepts the increase will be difficult, but that it's necessary to recoup money used to freeze fares in previous years. Finlay Jack, STV News.
OK, let's take a look at other stories across Scotland now. And more than 1,500 babies have been born with drug dependencies in Scotland since 2017. The data emerged from a Freedom of Information request by the Scottish Liberal Democrats. Health Secretary Neil Gray insists the Scottish Government will continue to invest in addiction treatment and support services. The Lib Dems say it should be treated as a priority.
The Scottish Government need to recognise this is a crisis, both in terms of adult mortality and babies being born dependent on substances, increase the money that's available for all kinds of drug intervention services, whether that's about getting people the safe consumption they need or getting people into rehab, but crucially delivering comprehensive wraparound support for families affected.
A teenager is in a serious condition in hospital after falling off an electric bike on New Year's Day. The 15-year-old was found on Ars Drive in Barrhead late last night. He was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Glasgow. Police are appealing for information. An 85-year-old man has died days after being hit by a car in Renfrewshire. John Allen was struck on Sunday on Beath Road in Johnston. He was taken to hospital but died on New Year's Eve. Police confirmed investigations into the crash are continuing. A Gaelic love song written during the Battle of the Somme is to be housed at a new cultural centre on the Western Isles. The North Uist Historical Society will receive more than £150,000 from the Scottish Government to convert an old school into the new centre on the island. War memorabilia from local soldiers and posters from the band Runrig will also be featured.
So this will be available to tourists to visit, and there will be a number of tours that start and finish at the Gaelic Centre. But I think for any of us who love Scottish culture, Scottish heritage and Gaelic literature, this will be an absolute feast to enjoy.
It's not only about the collection, it's a social history, you know, gathered over decades, and we particularly want to strengthen the Gaelic use in not only in this building, it's quite strong already, but within the community.
And things are a little different at the National Galleries of Scotland. Every January since 1901, watercolour paintings Joseph Mallard, William Turner have been displayed at the gallery. But this year, for the very first time, the Scottish selection, donated by art collector Henry Vaughn, has been swapped with the Dublin collection to celebrate the artist's 250th birthday.
Henry Vaughan ensured that both Edinburgh and Dublin had a representation of Turner's work that spanned the whole of his 50-year career and had examples of all his different kinds of work in watercolour. But one particular standout object for us this year is that we've been able to borrow a watercolour of Edinburgh, which normally lives in the Dublin collection.
Now, groundbreaking research conducted at the University of Edinburgh has shown for the first time how the failure of an organ, such as someone's liver or kidneys, can trigger a chain reaction, causing others to suddenly age and deteriorate. It's thought the findings will help us understand how diseases in different parts of the body interact with each other and what happens as people age. Ollie Dickinson has more.
When Gordon McLennan developed jaundice, it was a sign his liver was beginning to fail. However, whilst waiting for an emergency transplant, Gordon's kidneys and brain also began to shut down, leaving his doctors baffled.
I was in hospital for maybe about 2 days, and then things gradually started to continue to get worse, and I was transported through to the liver transplant unit in Edinburgh Royal Infirmary. Probably about a week to 10 days after that. I don't really remember because my memory had started to go at that point. I kind of woke up about 10 days later to be told that I'd had a liver transplant.
20 years on, cutting-edge research at this lab means scientists now know why, when a liver starts to fail, it can trigger complications in other organs.
Cells, as they age or are injured, don't just affect themselves and their local environment, but actually send signals around the body. Throughout my career, I've watched as people have succumbed to multi-organ failure, and we haven't really understood why that is. This is an important piece in that puzzle, but being able to now have the systems where we can pick apart that biology, understand it, and potentially intervene, I think is really groundbreaking.
Understanding why cells react this way means surgeons can better predict organ failure and act faster.
Now that we understand that this is a real process, we can start to pick apart the mechanism in greater detail, and that could lead to greater understanding, and that of course can lead to therapy. So rather than just watching the process, we're actually using the understanding of it to treat patients to prevent the bad outcomes that we see in people.
With an ageing population and an increasing need for organ donors, it's hoped better understanding of what happens when organs fail could help identify those most at risk from complications. Ollie Dickinson, STV News.
A North East charity which helps vulnerable people is potentially facing closure due to financial difficulties. Your Love Rara, based in Aberdeen, provides a range of support for mothers, the elderly and youngsters. Its owner says it's hit a red zone to stay open. Reem Satar has the details.
Can you just tell me how important this space is to you?
It just means everything to me. So if I was to lose the space, it just would be devastating for not only for me, but for the community.
11 years ago, Zara Grant set up Your Love Rara to help those struggling and provide a safe space. Her own struggles inspired her to start up the charity. She arrived in the city alone, at just 19 years old, and had experienced homelessness at a young age. Now she faces losing the community she built.
We have found ourselves a bit of a pickle. Obviously, moving to the premises in Castlegate has been quite a dramatic change for us. But not only that, I would say like the les zones, the bus gates, the rise in electric, just funding in general has kind of been quite difficult, and we're kind of finding ourselves now in a bit of a red zone.
Potential closure will also have an impact on volunteers. Heather has been volunteering here for 2 years. It's helped boost her confidence and says she will be heartbroken if they shut.
It's an amazing company in everything that it does, and everything Zara does to help the community. So it closing is really hard. Having it taken away, it's going to be really, really bad, like heartbroken. It's going to be awful.
If they lose this safe space, they don't have anything else. So as one of my volunteers says, he wants us to be happy and stable and have the income and be able to survive. But he'll be absolutely devastated because this is the first place he's ever felt seen.
Although her concerns weigh on her mind, Zara continues to work as normal to ensure families and youngsters are not alone.
Our main purpose is to support children and teens' mental health and well-being. But it's much more than that. We help educate other families and help bring community together and learn about different cultures and really creating a community space for everyone. So I just hope that 2025 we can continue the work that we're doing, because I'd just be devastated to lose it.
2025 will be a significant year for Your Love Rara. But despite some serious financial hurdles to overcome, Zara and all the volunteers remain optimistic about their future. Reem Satar, STV News.
Well, it's been a big day in the Scottish Premiership. The Dundee Derby is underway and we've just had the first Old Firm match of the year. Ronnie is live for us at Ibrox.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith New Year Sale.
Yes, a very good evening from Ibrox, where Rangers have won the New Year's Derby, beating Celtic by 3-0. As ever, it was a pulsating derby where both teams were going at it from minute one, and it was a result that many certainly didn't see coming. For Philippe Clement's men coming into this one not in the best run of form, mounting injuries as well, but today on that pitch behind us they certainly blew away their bitter rivals. Well, for the Rangers manager Philippe Clement, this will certainly ease some of the pressure on the Belgians' shoulders. As we mentioned, coming into this one, many fans asking questions whether he was the man to take Rangers forward after a disappointing couple of results. But boy, did they turn it round today, did Rangers. Philippe Clement's men, as we mentioned, winning by 3-0. And the Belgian has just finished speaking to the media. Let's hear from him now.
Yeah, very pleased that they get the reward that they deserve. So they didn't get it in this League Cup final, and that was a harsh one, a cruel one, what we talked about. Today they didn't get it, they grabbed it, and that's what I want to see. So it was a well-deserved victory. It was a very strong collective victory with some players playing out of position also.
Different story, obviously, for Celtic and Brendan Rodgers, their first league defeat of the season. Brendan Rodgers, just speaking to the media as well, admitting it was the better team who won today. The gap, though, at the top still remains 11 points, so the Celtic manager admits it's not all doom and gloom. Let's hear from him now.
I thought the best team won, so gratitude to Rangers. I thought they had the edge in the game that we never had. We started okay first 3-4 minutes, how we'd want in their half, but then we made too many mistakes with the ball today, and obviously one of them leading to their first goal, and I think from that it gives them a lift to defend that lead and gives the stadium a lift, and then and from that we never really responded.
Well, it was also a huge day of Premiership action across the country, a full card for this New Year's derbies. And let's take a look at the 3 o'clock results today, starting with Aberdeen's 2-1 defeat to Ross County. Pressure and certainly disappointing results for Jimmy Tilleen's men. Hearts a 1-0 win over Motherwell. Kelly 2-0 victors at Rugby Park against St Mirren. Rangers, as we mentioned, beating Celtic here at Ibrox. And the final 3 o'clock full-time result was St Johnstone 1, Hibs 1. But it wasn't just the derby here in Glasgow that has everyone talking. The city of discovery standing still at the moment as Dundee and Dundee United go head to head. It's half-time with the scoreline currently 0-0. And let's now take a look at the Premiership table as it sits on the first few days of 2025. Celtic at the summit, as we mentioned. Rangers cutting the gap to 11 points after the win here at Ibrox. Aberdeen remain in third. Dundee United can leapfrog the Dons if they win in the late kick-off. St Mirren and Motherwell make up the rest of the top 6. To the bottom half, where Hibs sits 7th and Killie are 8th. Then it's Dundee, Ross County, Hearts in 11th, and St Johnstone now cut adrift at the bottom of the table by 5 points.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith New Year Sale.
And that is all your sport tonight from Ibrox, where Rangers claim the New Year's honours, beating Celtic by 3-0.
All right, Ronnie, thanks very much. OK, let's find out how your weather's looking now with Philip.
Thank you, Kellyanne. Well, as you'll have heard earlier in Laura's report, things are turning bitterly cold over the next couple of days. And if we take a look at the temperature trend for the likes of Shetland, by night we'll be seeing lows of around -3 or -4 degrees Celsius, and by day highs of only 3 or 4 degrees Celsius. We come a little further southwards for the likes of Dundee. Overnight, lows of -1 or -2, and by day highs of 3 or 4 as well as we head throughout the weekend. Now, there are already couple of weather warnings in place over the next couple of days. There might be more added by the Met Office, so it is an idea to keep a check on the Met Office website. In the meantime, though, let's take a closer look at what's in store over the next couple of days. Here is the forecast.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, at the moment we already have a couple of yellow weather warnings in place. One for snow and ice covering the Northern Isles and much of the northeast of the mainland, and one for just ice covering much of the western side of the country. Overnight tonight we'll see a frontal system moving in from the north, sinking southwards, bringing with it a more organised band of showers. And as those showers bump into the colder air, it will be falling as snow, mostly on higher ground. Some wintry flurries down to lower levels and remaining as rain around western coastal parts, with temperatures tonight dropping to lows of possibly -4 or -5 degrees Celsius. So looking ahead to Friday, through the early hours, those wintry showers will continue to work their way southwards, again remaining as rain mostly around western and eastern coastal parts. So we'll see some further snow accumulations on higher ground throughout tomorrow morning. They do tend to fizzle out by the time we get to the afternoon, so things turning a little bit drier later on in the day with plenty of sunny spells, and the winds will gradually start to ease too, with further blustery wintry showers feeding in across the very far north later on. It's remaining bitterly cold tomorrow too, temperatures reaching highs of around 3 or 4 degrees Celsius quite widely. Then looking ahead to Saturday, not a bad day overall. Still some wintry showers mainly affecting the very far north, drier and brighter elsewhere with highs of 5. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, it's the time of year for New Year's resolutions and challenges. So how about this one for an inspiring one? Mum of 4, Michelle Moffat, overcame charging elephants and negotiated hippo-infested waters on an epic African adventure. Something she thought never possible after a spinal injury in 2019. But now she and 2 other wheelchair adventurers have become the first paraplegics to canoe 300 kilometres down the Zambezi River. Caitlin Hutchison has the story.
Canoeing for 7 hours each day in searing 40-degree heat, but still smiling, facing off hippos and crocodiles, elephants and lions. Just some of the dangers overcome by Scottish paraplegic Michelle Moffat on an epic African challenge.
Actual physical canoeing side of it, people were like, how are you going to do 300 kilometres? Well, I literally am just using my arms like constantly, so whatever. It's more the fact of getting in a canoe and out a canoe when you can't stand up, or if there are animals on the island we need to get away from. How am I getting up this sandy embankment on a wheelchair to get away from elephants, and we can't get to the canoes because the other elephants are blocking them, and like all these different things.
Michelle's life changed in an instant when she bent down to pick up a pen on a night shift. A prolapsed disc had gone into her spinal cord, and post-surgery complications caused a bleed on her spine, leaving her paralysed from the waist down.
I basically went to my GP. She's like, can I check you, check your back? And then she's, do you have any numbness? I'm like, numbness? No, I'm in agony. And she's like, no, like your legs. And it's like, I can't feel it. I hadn't even realised I had no feeling. Life just changed like that.
We made it. 3 paraplegics,
yeah.
1 river. We made it. Smashed it.
Now, through her Zambezi Canoe Challenge, Michelle and her fellow adventurers have been raising funds for spinal research and a children's wheelchair charity. Also donating equipment to a local orphanage school and mission hospital in Zambia while they were there.
It was like a real kind of privilege. And then they were telling us, oh, there's a wee girl in the orphanage just behind us here. Her bone didn't heal, they had surgery, she's never walking again. She's only 10, she looks like she was about 6, she was tiny. Sean's like, I don't know how we're going to do it, we're sorting her a wheelchair. We're going to get it made in bright pink because it's like her favourite colour. And it was so nice, and I'm like, I thought I couldn't give back or anything again, and I'm like, I can still do things, maybe different things than I ever thought, but actually maybe more than I thought I would ever do as well.
Every 2 hours, someone in the UK is paralysed after a spinal cord injury. Michelle hopes her story will inspire others to overcome their own obstacles, whatever they may be. Caitlin Hutchison, STV News.
Oh, just amazing. Well, that's all for now. From all of us on the team, bye-bye.